Welcome to the Reese Report. I'm the Mountain Manager Reese, and I am back with my boys Gil Santos and Tony Barbosa making his return. He had hockey, and then he had to, train his son how to swim, and so he was away for a week. So we had to wait for him. But Gil has returned, but Jose unfortunately didn't make it. He passed out before our show started, so we wish him the best. But we'll get to talk about the Colts freely today because he's not going to interrupt us. So we will do that. It's not going to be a fun time when Barbosa talks about them, but we'll get to them as we go along. Please like, subscribe, and comment as always. We are giving you our, as you know, picks not against the spread. Last week, Tony, Jose, and myself had 9 wins, and Gil had 7 wins. That makes the records me and Barbosa at 96 and 56, Jose at 104 and 48, and Gil at 91 and 61. We'll see if we can try to catch Jose as he's held an 8-game lead for quite some time. Got some tough games this week, so let's see. Just for everyone's edification, we're recording this just after the start of the Washington Commanders Philadelphia Eagles games. We are all on the Eagles, so don't worry. We made our pick before then, but we had to do the show on a Thursday because my wife's 40th birthday was yesterday, and we were out celebrating quite late. So
Happy birthday.
Yes, yes, and it's not over yet. We got more plans coming up, so I'm just trying to get the show in before it's too late. So let's go to game one, and this is perfect timing because we're going to talk about Barbosa's Colts. Barbosa, you have one of the most confusing teams. I'm trying to be nice. Confusing teams in the NFL. So Shane Steichen, your coach, decided to bench Anthony Richardson, and he decided to bench him because he quit on the team, on the field and off the field. They said
Not only would they quit on the team, he's been terrible. He's been awful.
Yeah, and he's played terrible. So they say they're going to go to Joe Flacco, and he's going to start the rest of the season. Joe Flacco plays against two of the tougher defenses in the league and gets destroyed. And now they're going back to Anthony Richardson, who they said was benched for the season and was caught yawning on the sideline during one of the games he was benched. Barbosa, what in the blue hell, as The Rock would say, is going on with your Colts?
I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. The only thing I can think of is the decision maybe came from the owner.
It had to. Yeah.
I don't think, I don't think, from my understanding, is that some of that locker room is not behind Anthony Richardson. I don't believe Shane Steichen made that move himself.
No.
Just because I don't think he wants to separate the locker room, but I believe that call came from the owner.
Yeah. What do you think of the call?
Which is a bad call. Which is a bad call. I honestly, if Anthony Richardson is the starting quarterback the rest of the season, I don't see the Colts winning another game. I don't care who they play. They could play Carolina. I don't see the Colts winning another game. The rest of the players are going to quit. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be a bad look the rest of the season. I don't know who's the worst organization, the Cowboys right now, the Jets or the Colts.
Great segue. Great segue, Barbosa, because I was going to ask who's worse, the Colts or the Jets, because the Jets are in just as bad a shape as your Colts, so we're going to get to them.
Listen, I'll make my pick. I'm going to take the Jets. I'm going to take the Jets because I don't see the Colts. I honestly, I don't. I think this is going to divide the locker room. I don't know what the hell is going on. I have no faith in the organization right now, just because of that move. First, you say you're going to bench Anthony Richardson, and I'm sure that's a call from Shane Steichen. I'm sure he's the one that made that call. And then I think this call right now came from ownership. That's my opinion, and which is if it is came from ownership, listen, here we go, Cowboys. This is the Cowboys again. You're letting the owner run the team. It's not good. That's not good.
It wouldn't shock me at all if this came from ownership. We also had Jim Irsay hire Jeff Saturday, and so this should not shock anyone. Gil, my
Well,
question,
well,
yes, yeah, go ahead,
well.
Gil.
I think it's a bad decision from the Colts. Uh, I'm going to say it's a bad decision from the NFL. The whole NFL is doing this to these kids. They're drafting them and they're throwing them right in, and then they get disappointed, and they're benching them, and then they're putting them back. It's happening to Caleb Williams. He's shitting the bed now. They're already like all over him, right?
I agree with you. There should be, especially in the NFL, there should be an age limit, especially with like these are 22, 21-year-old kids. As a quarterback, I don't think they're ready, especially quarterbacks.
Yeah, but
I don't think they're ready to lead a
but
team.
how do you
It's not
explain
a
Jaden Daniels though? Like,
yes, but
Listen,
but Andrew, what I'm
Reese,
trying to say,
we're talking about like, you know, how many guys that have come into the league that young that have taken teams far.
not too many, not too many to be
CJ
fair.
Stroud last year, CJ Stroud last year.
Yeah,
That's because they had a good team around them. You can tell they had a good team around them. And
yeah,
Jaden Daniels this year, that's a good team around them.
yeah,
at the end of the day,
Majority of these teams don't have pieces around them. They
right,
don't.
right.
And these quarterbacks are coming into young and they're firing off as the starter right off the bat. How are you going to expect to do anything and to learn the NFL game, the pro game, if they're going to just throw themselves in?
Yeah,
the old NFL,
It's bad.
they'd sit a year at least behind the quarterback to learn the
Yeah,
system. They just don't get thrown like that, and the NFL's ruining these kids. Not the NFL, the organizations are ruining the kids.
yeah, it's the organizations correctly. Look at Patrick Mahomes. He sat a year behind Alex Smith. Aaron Rodgers. He sat like what is
4
it?
years.
4 years behind Brett Favre,
yeah,
Gil.
Yeah.
yeah. As the Jordan Love,
Jordan Love sat how many years behind Aaron Rodgers?
Joe Burrow started
So
right
you know
away.
what I mean? Uh
Joe Burrow started right away.
Joe Burrow started right away, but Joe Burrow was a little bit older. Joe Burrow didn't come in as a 21-year-old kid. Joe Burrow
Yeah,
came in, I believe he was 23 when he came in to the
yeah. He
league.
had a full 4 years in LSU. Yeah,
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 that's what I'm saying. You can't like Anthony Richardson was 1 year at Florida.
yeah. He didn't have a lot of experience at all, and I think that
Exactly.
Indy drafted him as a project, and then he got
Yeah, but
hurt
how
his
can you
first
draft him as a
season.
project and then you throw him as a starter off the
I
bat?
know because
You can't.
they had no quarterback. Yeah, it's a mess.
I listen, regardless if they had no quarterback, and this is where the Colts kind of screwed up, is that start Minshew. They should have started Minshew. Let Anthony Richardson ride in practice. Give him a couple of first team reps, but
Yeah,
not in a game. Maybe start him in the last couple of weeks of the season, but
yeah,
that's what happens. This is the problem. Here you
yeah,
go. You're there. He's ruined now. I'm
yeah.
telling you, there's
Well,
only one quarterback I wouldn't take besides him, and that's Deshaun Watson. That other than that, I'll take any other quarterback in the league besides him, besides them.
I'll add Aaron Rodgers to this list, who has been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league this year on one of the most
I'll still
disappointing
take
teams
Aaron
in the league
Rodgers.
this year. The Indianapolis Colts are playing the Jets as I we didn't mention. The Jets have been the NFL's biggest disappointment, although it doesn't surprise me in the least that they've sucked this year because I called it. Gil,
Bigger than the Cowboys?
yeah, I think it's a bigger disappointment because the Cowboys,
You
I didn't
bigger than the
believe.
Cowboys? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a bigger disappointment in the Cowboys. The
No,
Jets
a
came
lot of people were way too high on the Cowboys. I wasn't.
right. The
And I
Jets came
told you
into
guys,
the
I
year.
didn't have them winning the
Here,
division.
here's why the Jets are a bigger disappointment. The Cowboys came in, they were 12-5, they had prior success, and they kept the same team, hoping they'd have the same success. The the Jets came into the season saying if we add a quarterback, we're a Super Bowl contender, and they're worse this year than they were last year with Zach Wilson. That's why they're a bigger disappointment. Gil, who do you have in this
Okay.
game? Colts, Jets, two massively disappointing teams.
Well, I think they're both a mess. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go with the Jets. I just think they have on paper better offense, better names than the Colts do.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Here's the thing. When I looked at this game, I said I have to decide between which team I hate more. I did pick the Colts to be a wild card. That's not going to happen anymore, so I don't feel bad about this pick at all. Like Rogers said today, he wants to come back next year. Like he has to show the Jets something half decent for them to even consider bringing him back next year. So I got the Jets just because even if they don't make the playoffs, they have to show something. And they've shown nothing. And by the way, I tried to warn Jose and Gil last week that the biggest lock of the week was Arizona and they were going to crush the Jets. They thought it'd be the other way
And
around.
they did. Holy cow.
And Arizona absolutely destroyed them 31-6, and no one should have been surprised. Well, good call, Barbosa. Sneaky Cardinals, first in the NFC West. We'll see what happens with them. So I'm going to take the Jets as well, just because I think Anthony Richardson is just he came out today and said he's happy he got benched in 2 games. Like he should just not talk. He just shouldn't talk anymore.
Yeah,
Anthony.
be
Just
quiet.
go play, and don't talk, and try not to yawn on the sideline. So we're all on the Jets because I mean they do have a little bit more talent. They have their defense is supposed to be good, but although it's been disappointing, and so I'll stick with the Jets. Um, Now let's go to the game of the week. The Baltimore Ravens, who snuck out a win, and I mean snuck out a win over the Cincinnati Bengals, who went for two and missed, should have gotten 2 calls on that play. A holding in the end zone and a face mask on Burrow. Once again, the rest
Bro.
missing calls that cost the team the game. We'll get to Kansas City later about that one. They're going to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, who, for me, are the team I got the most wrong this year. I did not think the Steelers would be a good football team this year. I did not think Russell Wilson would fit in that system and be this good. I was wrong. They've been excellent. Um, they're one of the biggest, to me, they're one of the biggest surprises in the league. Um, so this is a big game. It's basically for the division title. They play one more time after this, but this is the same as Washington Philly today. It's for the division title. So let's go to Gil. You're a big Ravens fan. Lamar Jackson is having an MVP season again. But this matchup is always a war. So who do you got in this one?
Well, this was a fun game to watch. It'll be a smack mouth,
Always.
old school type football. Should be fun to watch. I,
Absolutely.
I just think Lamar. Well, I just think I'm gonna stick with Lamar. I just think he always finds a way to get it done, and if he can't, you always have King Henry there. He's having an awesome season as well. Steelers have Watt, but Watt's just one guy. I just think Russell Wilson will fall short. There'll be a field goal game, I think.
Barbosa, this is always a great game to watch. And it's always a battle. And typically the road team, for whatever reason, wins these games. I don't know why, but who do you got, Barbosa?
I'm gonna take the Steelers. And the reason why I'm taking the Steelers is because they have the better defense. The Baltimore Ravens defense this year is terrible. And I'm telling you that the getting Derrick Henry was the biggest pickup that Baltimore could have done, because if they didn't have Derrick Henry there, they could have been 3 games that they would have lost.
Yeah.
Because how tight they were. Um, Pittsburgh's defense is probably the best defense in the league. At least they're top 3 defenses in the league. And Russell Wilson he's rejuvenating his career in Pittsburgh. And Pickens is playing well all of a sudden. So and saying that, because I don't think Baltimore can't stop anything right now. I don't know, especially in their secondary. They get torched last week against
Right,
against Joe Burrow.
right. Okay.
So if they can stop Derrick Henry, I think it's going to be a blowout, to tell you the honest truth. Because if they stop Derrick Henry, Pittsburgh will blow them out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Pittsburgh.
I'm going to take the Steelers as well, and I'm going to take the Steelers because the Baltimore pass defense is giving up 294 yards a game. And if Russell Wilson can do anything, it's throw the moon ball. And I mean, Baltimore twice this year has cost me fantasy matchups against Gil Santos because the goddamn Zay Flowers went crazy because he played against Cincinnati and freaking like bad defenses and just went nuts. So until I see Baltimore's pass defense play better, I'm not going to take them in too many games. And Pittsburgh um, should be able to win this game. I will say that if Baltimore wants to win this game, they've got to run Henry more because last week they didn't run him enough. And Pittsburgh's rush defense is not as good as their pass defense. So they've got to run the ball if they want to win this game. It'll be low scoring, but I'm going to take the Steelers by a field goal with Gil's friend Chris Boswell making a field goal to win it. All right. All right, let's get Minnesota Vikings, who were not impressive at all last week, as Sam Darnold looks like he's seeing ghosts again, Gil. Beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 12-7, barely covering the 4 points, but doing their job barely. They go to Tennessee to take on the Titans, who do not have a quarterback. I know Will Levis threw a couple of touchdown passes last week, but I don't believe in him. And when he sees Brian Flores' defense, it's not going to be pretty. So I got the Vikings. Barbosa, who do you got?
Vikings.
Yo.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but yeah, I think the Vikings are going to win. But they snuck one last week. They didn't look good.
Yeah, the Vikings look like their offense is kind of coming apart a little bit. So, we're gonna see. It's Tennessee's defense is good, but I just don't believe in their quarterback. Although there could be an upset here, but we'll see. So we're all on the Vikings there. Just make sure. All right, let's go to the Cleveland Browns, who off the bye week are coming back with Jameis Winston and company. Maybe Nick Chubb, maybe not. They go to New Orleans to take on the Saints, who I should have known got the coach bump. I said it. I've said it for weeks, and Barbosa and Gil can back me up on this. I said the Falcons are frauds, right? Did I not say the Falcons are frauds?
Yeah,
and they lost.
Cousins.
Yeah, they lost Saints team with a new head coach who had just traded their best defensive player, and lost. They lost to that team. So the Falcons are frauds, and they're going to continue to be frauds, even though they're going to win the division. As Gil said, they got Kirk Cousins, the quarterback. So Cleveland at New Orleans. This is a really weird, tough game. Gil, who do you got?
I'm with the Saints. They look exciting to watch, even though they look banged up, but they're actually exciting to watch. My ex-Packer there, Valscanzi, had 2 crazy touchdowns. And they looked fun. Their car might be out there just having fun, and they might get right back in this.
Yeah, I mean they lost 5 in a row and then won that game, and the team looked very, very happy to have a new coach. Looks like they didn't like Dennis Allen too much, Barbosa. Who do you got?
In saying that, I'm going to take Cleveland though. Off the bye week, James Winston, that defense is still good. And I think the coach, that was like you said, that was a coach bump. They wanted to do for the new coach, but reality is going to set in. I'm going to take Cleveland though.
I am going to take the Saints. I agree with Gil. I think that I like when the new coach comes in and you get that bump. We saw last year with Antonio Pierce coming in and they go beat Kansas City, the Raiders. So I think New Orleans will go to win this game at home against Cleveland. I just don't know what to expect from Cleveland. We saw Jameis Winston score 3 points and throw a couple of picks. He's like the Joe Flacco syndrome all over again. So we'll see with Cleveland, but I'm going to go with the Saints. Okay, so I'm not going to waste more than a minute on this game as Jacksonville and Mac Jones travels to Detroit to take on the Lions. Can we all say it together? We have the Lions.
Lions.
Yeah, this game's a joke. The only question is whether they'll cover the spread or not. I think it's 14.5. I'd even take Detroit to cover that. It's going to be a beatdown. All right, now let's go to a game that I know exactly who Gil's going to take, and I know why, but it's gonna be funny to have I'm gonna have him talk about this first. The Green Bay Packers go to Chicago to take on the Bears. I already know who Gil's taking, but let me explain. Green Bay coming off a bye, healthier, playing a horrid Chicago Bears offense who just fired their offensive coordinator. I don't think Green Bay's lost to Chicago in 10 or 12 games. So it's pretty easy pick, right, Gil?
Well, I believe so, and especially Green Bay's catching them in as they're in shambles. Like if they caught them right at the beginning, where Chicago looked like they were Chicago, but now here's the Bears that I know, and they're bad, and the Packers coming off that bye week, getting healthy. Just I know LaFleur gave it had some big conversations with Love about the football decisions sometimes. So I think they probably got that out of the way. I guarantee you they watched some film and they told Love just, do your thing, but be smart about it. So I think the Packers are going to go there and they're just going to continue owning the Bears.
Barbosa.
I get the Packers. The Bears have no offensive line. Plain and simple. You're not going to win football games if you don't have an offensive line.
Yeah,
The Packers will smoke them.
yeah, I agree. The Bears defense is really good. And if Love does one of those stupid things where he just throws it up in the air in his end zone, it could change the game. We saw that happen with Gil's team a couple of times. But I Green Bay needs this game and can't be messing around. They've got to make sure they pass Minnesota in the standings. I've got the Packers. Okay, let's go to two disaster teams. The Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know who their quarterback is. I don't know who their running back is. I don't know who their receivers are. I I, I just don't know who Vegas is. They go to take on the Dolphins. I know who their team is. They played very well against the Rams last week and shocked me with a win in LA, which kept their slim playoff hopes alive.
Well, that's because they got Tua back and they got Tyreek. Tua does make a difference in that offense. If you really
Yes,
look at it, Tua does make a difference in that offense.
yeah, he does. Their offense wasn't anything to go crazy about, but at least it's a reasonable offense. I think they beat the Vegas Raiders. Gil, who do you got?
Yeah, Miami.
And Barbosa.
Yeah, Miami.
Yeah, I mean it's the Raiders are just I don't know what they are. Like I just don't know what they are. Um, let's go to the Rams, who were a big disappointment last week. Matthew Stafford once again turning into a pumpkin, despite having his weapons. Um, they go to New England to take on the resurgent Patriots. I mean, they seem to play better with Drake May as quarterback. Um, this is a big game for the Rams. Um, you can't afford to lose this game, but it's not a lock. Gil, who do you got?
Yeah, the Patriots looked impressive last week, but the Rams need this game. But you know what? If the Patriots wins, they're back in the playoff race. The last spot I believe is 5-5. So they'll be 4-7. So they'll kind of be right in the race again. Same thing with Miami, by the way, as we're talking. But I just think the Rams just have too much firepower up front. I just think Stratford, Cup, Nakua, Williams. I don't know. I just got to take the Rams.
Yeah, I was shocked. I mean, the Dolphins' defense has been decent this year. I'm just shocked at how they're able to bottle up the Rams' offense. Barbosa?
I agree with Gil. I'm going to take the Rams because they need this game to
Yeah, yeah,
for their playoff hopes, to
yeah.
keep their playoff hopes alive. Um, and they got their weapons back. I don't know. Last week was just one of those games. I don't know where Stafford's mind was at, but I think they'll get it together this week and they should win this game.
That was a wild, wild game last week. I was shocked by how well Miami played. Um, I got the Rams as well because that division is just incredible. Every team has four losses. The Cardinals have 6 wins. The 49ers have 5 wins. And I believe the Rams and are 4-5, and
Yeah.
Seabags are 4-4. And so it's a wide open division right now. I got the Rams sneaking this one out over the Patriots. Now let's go to a very interesting game for most people, but not me. Atlanta, who has Kirk Cousins at quarterback, goes to take on one of the best defenses in the league with one of the best secondaries. They're at Denver. Guess who I've got? The Broncos. Gil?
Denver, and Denver should have beat Kansas City last week.
They should have beat them. They absolutely should have beat them.
They played very well. Hands to them. Denver played very well. I was impressed. Bo Nix played well. That defense played well. Too bad that kick. I don't know. It almost looked like that kick was planned. The two guys flopped in front. I don't know. I
Yeah,
keep looking at the
three
replay.
three guys fell over, Gil.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't even want to say anything, but anyways,
Yeah,
but to me, my eyes, Denver gave it to them and they could have won that game.
yeah.
But Atlanta's in for a surprise. That Kirk Cousins, get ready for like 3 picks, 2 fumbles, and 5 sacks.
Barbosa, before the season started, you said Atlanta needed a quarterback. And I told you that Kirk Cousins was the wrong quarterback. Has he been a disappointment to you this year?
No, he's been Kirk Cousins. What's a disappointment? He's been Kirk Cousins.
Exactly my point. Exactly.
He's been Kirk Cousins.
Yep,
He's been
exactly.
he's been 1 week he looks like the best quarterback in the league. The next week he looks like the worst quarterback in the league.
That's Kirk
He's
Cousins.
Kirk Cousins, right?
Who do
Is
you
he
got?
better than what Atlanta had last year? 100% he's better than what Atlanta had last year. That's for
The,
sure.
the results are the
And
same,
saying
though.
that, that's why I said I think Atlanta is going to be a better team.
Mhm.
But saying
I'm not
that,
so sure about that.
I'm going to take
Take
the
the
Broncos
Broncos.
at home. They're at home, like you guys said. Their defense is is legit, and Bo Nix is right now what they need him to be is a game manager, and that's exactly what he's doing.
He's
Right, so
serviceable.
yeah, he he's getting the job done. So I'm gonna take the Broncos.
Okay. So we'll let you know Josie's picks tomorrow, guys. He hasn't sent me. I fell asleep, so we'll let you know. Um, let's go to the Sea Bags in a massive, and I mean massive game in the NFC West. They go to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. I'm going to make this short and sweet. Brock Purdy is 6-1 in his career against the Sea Bags. The 49ers have owned them since he started his career. They have Christian McCaffrey back. It's the second half of the season where the 49ers rarely lose. I got the 49ers, and I got the 49ers big. Barbosa.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Niners. Yeah, like you said, they got McCaffrey back. Purdy's record against Seattle is pretty good. Um, and this is that time of year where San Fran turns it around. They said the first couple weeks are not doesn't mean nothing to us, and then they go on this crazy run when they went like 4 or 5 in a row. So I'm gonna take the Niners.
Gil, what do you got?
I'm gonna take the Niners. I don't know about blowout, but Seattle usually keeps it close with them. But I think the outcome will still be the same. The Niners would win.
I'm just going to take a quick look at the spread here. Curious what the spread is.
6.5.
It's only 6.5. I think San Fran will win by 7. Just for throw it out there for spread people. I think they'll win by 7. But yes, Gil's right. They find a way to keep it close, and usually the 49ers pull away late. So he is right about that. Let's go to our next game, which is to me one of the games of the week. We talked about Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Now we have a game that will likely decide the 1 seed as the Kansas City Chiefs, who somehow, some way are undefeated, go to Buffalo to take on the Bills in the big rivalry game. Um, Bills are 8-2. Um, They have trouble beating the Chiefs every single year. This is a absolutely massive game for not only the Bills' history and the way they feel about their team, but for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Let's start with Gil. Massive game. Who do you got?
I went with the Bills. Like I said, Kansas City's been winning all these games, but not like just winning. They didn't impress anybody. So I think Allen and I think those fans are going to be a hostile environment. And I think Allen, this is the game he has to prove that they're for real this year. What better way than be on that run and they're at home, having the fans behind them. He can't choke this game. He needs to win. And KC, they're perfect, but no one goes perfect. I think this is their downfall.
Barbosa, you once said you would not go against the Chiefs until they lose again. Are you sticking with that?
It's a tough pick because I believe if Josh Allen wins this game and he throws 2 or 3 touchdowns, he will be the front runner for MVP. So I think the Bills want this game more than KC, if you ask me. In saying that, I did say KC. Until I see KC lose, I'm not going to go against them. But they just been in too many close games. No, I'm going to take the Bills. I'm going to take the Bills because they're at home. And like I said, I think this is going to be a statement game for Josh Allen. And if Allen does win this game and he has a big game, I believe after this week will be the front runner for MVP. So I'm going to take the Bills.
Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest games in the Bills' history, at least in the regular season history. If they win this game, they could finish as the 1 seed. They'd have the tiebreaker against Kansas City. I agree with Gil. I have not been impressed with any of Kansas City's recent wins. They're getting by on their defense. Mahomes, in my opinion, has been average all year until the fourth quarter when he's come up with some big plays. I think the refs have been very, very effective in helping them win games. They're generous. Helping them win games. So I really the only problem I have with the Bills is that they have 3 receivers out of the lineup. Dalton Kincaid.
And Kincaid.
Kincaid, Cooper, and Keon Coleman are out. Kansas City has the best rush defense in the NFL. And so I don't know how Buffalo scores in this game. That troubles me. But I'm going to take
I think
the Bills.
Cooper's active this week. I believe Cooper's active.
Okay, so if Cooper's active.
Only Kincaid is questionable, but Coleman is though.
Yeah. So I'm very concerned about that. But the way the Bills have won their games this year, hopefully they can figure out a way to run the ball. The problem is that with the Casey's rush defense, it's going to be really hard to run on them, and that's going to mean that Allen's going to have to test their defense, and that means Chris Jones, and so that this game sets up for Kansas City to win. But I'm going to take the Bills. So I gave you my analysis. It's up to you guys what you do with it. Now,
if KC, if Buffalo could be smart about this, because you said KC has the best rush defense in the league.
Yeah.
What if Josh Allen starts using his legs?
He can, but Mahomes can do the same thing, right? So I think for Buffalo to win this game, they're going to need their weapons, and they don't have them. And so if it becomes a low-scoring defensive game, that favors Kansas City because it's favored Kansas City all
I agree with you on that.
Right? If it's a high-scoring game, it favors the Bills, and so that's my only concern. But I'll take the Bills just because this is a massive game for the Bills. I think it's way more important to them than it is to Kansas City. Let's get to a game that I think is one of my locks of the week. I'm not going to tell you which way I go, but it's the Cincinnati Bengals, who have a great quarterback,
Great receiver.
but you have a great receiver, and they have a pretty good running back. He's okay, but a terrible defense. And they make mistakes at the worst possible time. Uh, Burrow fumbles against Kansas City up 10. They lose the game by a point. The kicker misses a field goal. The game you guys went to cost them the game against Baltimore. They lose week 1 to New England because they're not ready to play. Like they lose games in the weirdest way. They're going to LA to take on the Chargers, who have the best defense in the NFL, and in my opinion, have the coach of the year. The job that Jim Harbaugh has done with this team cannot be understated. He turned the worst defense in the NFL into the best. They have a great run game, and I've never seen Justin Herbert look better, and he has no weapons. I think this is the lock of the week. I'm taking the Chargers. Who do you got, Gil?
I just think they have the defense, but this is a powerful offense, and they haven't really seen too much of powerful offenses all year, but not taking that away from them. I just think you made me just realize everything's been going backwards for the Bengals, where I think the fortunes change and starts going forward for them. And I think they'll sneak out with a win.
You got the Bengals.
Yes.
Barbosa, who do you got? This is a huge game for the Bengals. If they don't win this game, they're pretty much out of the playoffs. So
That's why I'm leaning towards the Bengals because they need this game. If they lose this game, their season's done. If they win this game, they're back in the playoff picture. That's huge. Their offense is it might be the best offense in the league. Their defense might be the worst defense in the league. So, and it's a disaster because in the first half against Baltimore, they looked pretty good. Baltimore put up what 6 points, something like that.
They had a 10-point lead again. So
yeah, and then in the second half, it's like that defense just, my God, it's terrible. It was terrible. But yeah, I agree with you with what you said about the Chargers. They turned that around. I didn't think it was going to be this quick to turn it around. Um, Jim Harbaugh has done a good job in turning that team around. But I think KC. I mean, I think since he needs the game more this week, I think they'll be hungry. I think Joe Burrow will play out of his mind. So I'm gonna pick the Bengals.
yeah, I would normally agree, except the Chargers, even at 6-3, because the Denver Broncos are right on their back and still have to play them one more time.
Yeah.
It's not like the Chargers can sit pretty. So, but that's cool. You guys got Cincy, I got the Chargers. And now I'm going to talk about this game because there's a lot of fantasy implications, and I just think it's funny to talk about this team. But the pick is easy. The Houston Texans, who get Nico Collins back, thank God, because I've missed him. And will really help CJ Stroud. And boy, is he coming back at the perfect time, going to Jerry World, which now should be called Scary World, are going to Dallas take on what's left of the Cowboys. The Cowboys had 40 yards passing last week, and we're talking about the sun being in their eyes. I got the Texans. Barbosa?
Got the Texans. And the players are already calling for Mike McCarthy to be fired. Jesus Christ, yeah.
Micah Parsons basically said the coach can go.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Which is, you shouldn't be saying that, especially, during the regular season. I get it maybe in the last game of the season or the second last game of the season, but you still have 6 weeks, 7 weeks to go.
Yeah.
And for him to be saying that,
yeah.
Here we go.
Gil,
the Dallas Cowboys.
Gil, I'm going to by the way, the Cowboys are 0-5 at home this year, and they've lost by an average of 20 points. Like they're so pathetic. Gil, before you make your pick, if a player from your Hitmen coaching days called you out in front of everybody, what would you do?
He would be gone. What makes
Can
you
you do though?
what makes you think that the coach is the problem? You're not performing. You're the one that's on the field at the end of the day, right? So if I was him, just keep your mouth shut because you're the players. I only can tell you what you can do, but you have to do it. You have to perform it, and they're not performing it. So I think that's horrible that he did that. McCarthy, I don't think has any backing. Like to be a coach in Dallas is hard because Jerry Jones sticks his nose in everything.
Yes.
Jerry Jones just needs to step back, be the owner, get a GM, let the GM deal with the coach. He needs to step out. That's my opinion on Dallas. But he still thinks he's running the 95 or the 94 Cowboys.
He wasn't running that team. He
It's
wasn't running that team.
I'm just saying it's a different era. Like coaches are coaches, the GMs are the GMs, and the owners are the owners. At the
Yeah.
end of the day. But Houston's gonna have a field day with this.
Oh my
I'm
God.
actually I'm actually happy. I have Mixon. I need him on a big day. I'm trying to do a comeback there on my fantasy. I'm running the table. So I need to win this week again. But I think I'm gonna have a big day with Mixon.
Yeah.
And I think Dallas is just in trouble. Their season's done. Lost a quarterback. They're done. They gotta open their eyes on which players to keep. Even if they want to kick out the coach, that's fine. But they gotta also evaluate these players.
Do you think Deion Sanders will take that job?
Deion Sanders, as of right now, told everybody to shut up because he likes it in Colorado. Now,
That's just talking though.
that's just talk because right now it's still in the middle of the NFL season. They don't want no distractions. This is going to be an off-season talk, right? I'm sure Sanders is getting offers, and I'm sure he's like focusing on his Colorado season, and he's probably telling Jerry Jones, "Listen, let the season end, and we'll talk."
Yeah.
Right now, he doesn't want to hear anything about it.
Yeah. Because Colorado's
But he
playing
doesn't
well.
want to hear it too because Colorado is actually, they're in a pretty good spot, and they don't
Yes,
want he doesn't want that noise around Colorado right now.
they might make the
Yes.
playoff. It's a possibility. They
Yeah.
might make the playoff because Georgia
So yeah,
got
he
bumped,
doesn't
so
want
they're out
that.
of
He
there.
doesn't want that noise.
Yeah.
He doesn't want that noise around his players for sure. You got to remember he's he's like I said, the record's pretty good. They're in a playoff spot, and you got one of your kids up for the Heisman. So you got to
Yeah.
be careful. Yeah, you got to tread
Yeah.
lightly what's said around there, because that could all go up in smoke, and he doesn't want that. He doesn't
No,
want
but
that around his team.
no, they're also saying to if Sanders comes, they want Dallas to flop all the games so then they can hire the
Like
father
Shador,
and draft the son.
That's true too.
Shador,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
I don't.
That's
I,
our
I honestly don't think he's going to go to Dallas. That's
yeah.
just rumors. I don't think he'll go to Dallas, in my
I don't I
opinion.
don't I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good job because you're stuck with Dak. You're stuck with Cooper
Stuck with
Rush.
Jerry Jones. Never mind with
You're stuck.
Dak.
You're
You're
stuck.
stuck with Jerry Jones.
No, but like he can't even like if they had not signed Dak to that mammoth deal, they would have had a top five pick and you could have started over. You could have drafted Shador Sanders. Then you go there as the father and you coach your son. Can't do that now because they re-signed Dak. So I don't think it's a good job for
Well,
Mr.
well, at the end,
Sanders.
well, at the end of the day, I think Jerry Jones is gonna die soon anyway, so it shouldn't be that bad. Like he's gonna croak
They
soon.
should be
Yeah.
called the Dallas Jones. That's what
Yeah.
no, the Dallas Jerry.
Listen,
That's what their name should be.
someone posted us on Twitter the other day after the Sun comments. It's now called Scary World because they just when they play there, it's scary. So that's their new name now. So those are our picks for this week and our commentary on the NFL. I'd like to thank Barbosa and Jose. Sorry, Jose's not here. Barbosa and Gil for coming on. We're hoping to get a little bit of a run going and catch him. Stay tuned because Gil and I will be back with our locks of the week. I am not stopping the show because Jose is not here. I went 3-0 last week. Gil went 3-0 last week. If you listened to us, you would have made money. And so we're coming back to give you more winners so you can win some more money from us. Okay? Barbosa will not be with us. He's not the gambler in this group. So we will see you next week on the Reach Report. Barbosa and me and Gil will be back with our locks of the week. But until then, hit my music.